respected dignitaries, and all my to-be IITB fellows, to-be IITB alumni fellows, I'm sorry. I welcome you all to the Institute Valedictory Function. All of you must have had your Valfis, but we'll call this the Institute Valedictory Function because these two are different and these two are important. So in your hostel Valfis, you go back to your 4 or 5 or 2 amazing years at IIT Bombay, and you reminiscence all the sentiments and good friendships and the friends who are now your family also, and you thank them for whatever they were and however they were to you. So that is the importance of your hostel Valfis. But here, this is the Institute Valedictory Function, and here you go back to look forward. Here you go back because the experiences that you had here are going to be your lessons for tomorrow. And all the dignitaries here are here to inspire you, to guide you, and make you look into the future. So without any further ado, I call the Dean ACR, Professor Ravisana, to take the proceedings forward.
I will also introduce Prof.Dipan Ghosh. So let me just quickly tell you what we are doing here. So this is a special day for all of you. It's a special day for all of us. Hopefully most of you will graduate. So the final grades are still to come out. I don't know how many of you are going to be here doing a summer course. Many of you have projects. Hopefully all of you will complete by the end of June. So I'm hoping that all of you would be graduate of IIT this year. So what happens when you become a graduate of IIT? You join a much bigger family known as the alumni family. And today really we are here to introduce you to the alumni family of IIT Bombay. A much bigger family, much more vibrant family. If you think that people in the hostel have a great time, you would not even imagine what happens when these people get together when they have a little bit more money. So it's a really rollicking part of the life which will start from now onwards. And this is really an opportunity for us to welcome you to the alumni family of IIT and to tell you a little bit about what it is in store for you after you graduated from IIT. And amongst other things which we tell you, the most important thing is that you can get out of IIT, but you can never get IIT out of you. So for the rest of your life, every moment which you sleep, drink, eat, breathe, whatever you do, you are going to be an IITian. And you have to carry the mantle of being an ambassador of IIT wherever you are, whatever you are doing. So if there's something which you liked about the time you spent over here, great. If there was something you didn't like, that is also great because you'll remember it. But what ultimately matters is that anywhere anything is going on about IIT, anybody talks about IIT, you're going to jump in and say, hey, I'm an IITian. Let me tell you what it is. And you are really the ambassadors. You have to uphold the name of IIT. You have to uphold the reputation of IIT in anything you do for the rest of your life. So it's a huge challenge, but it's actually a very interesting and a fun-filled life from here onwards. And we are actually very fortunate that Prof.Dipan Ghosh has agreed to be the chief guest of this function. And he is going to give an address and give you a bit of fundas, let you know something about what life beholds. And how many of you had the good fortune of taking a course which Prof.Dipan Ghosh? Let me see. How many had that good fortune? Very few of you. So he is just one of the most remarkable faculty members at IIT. And to just give a very, very brief introduction, that he is a theoretical physicist. And in the time he has spent in IIT since 1974, he has been involved in a large number of leadership positions. You will just move around the campus, and there are a lot of things which are there in terms of programs, in terms of buildings, campus facilities. A lot of them have his imprint at various points of time. He was earlier Dean of Resource Mobilization and Deputy Director of the Institute. Professor Dipan Ghosh, he did his PhD in theoretical physics from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and his thesis resulted in the development of what today is popularly known as the Mazumdar-Ghosh model. So it's his PhD and the subsequent research has resulted in very remarkable advancement in the field of physics. After completing his PhD, he took postdoctoral positions at University of Bristol and later on at Northwestern University. And then he also took faculty position at University of California in Santa Cruz, and then decided that he would pursue his further career as a faculty member at IIT Bombay. So he joined the institute in 1974, and in 2010, the institute, in recognition of the outstanding contributions he has made to the institute, conferred him with the Lifetime Achievement Award of IIT Bombay, which is the highest honor given by the institute to anybody. So we are really fortunate that Professor Dipan Ghosh agreed to come and address the gathering, and I invite him to come to the dais. I'll change the slides if you want.
Okay. Professor Sinha, Professor Yajnik, faculty friends, and ladies and gentlemen. It is normally customary in this election season to address, instead of saying ladies and gentlemen, friends. But if you have been looking at the press for the last 2-3 days, a lot of people might take objections that he failed me a course, how can he be called my friend? So hence I desist from using that. So the point is this, that when Professor Sinha and Professor Yajnik requested me to talk to this gathering, I was half hesitant, because the only time I speak at a public function, if you like, public meeting, is when I have a chalk in hand and probably teaching a PH 103 or whatever course I have. And this type of talk where what I am talking is ill-defined, and there is no Schrodinger or Feynman to guide us on what you should be speaking to the students, is sort of very difficult. But in any case, Professor Sinha, Professor Yajnik, thank you very much for inviting me and also for the kind words used. I have, before I came here, because I had a very rare experience of talking to public like this, I decided to talk to a few friends. Last couple of years, a professor of this department, namely the computer science department, Professor Deepak Phatak, whom I am sure all of you know, because the reason I didn't teach many of you was because the year you people entered, that was the year I formally retired from IIT. So therefore I have really not taken any undergraduate course, in particular PH 103 or 105 I have not taken. So I talked to Professor Deepak Phatak, and I have sort of taken his permission to literally borrow from his previous lectures, but I'm sure you have not heard it, so it doesn't really matter. I have decided but you know, in our language there is a saying that thievery is a great art, provided you don't get caught. But you know, I will try to see that my lectures, I don't get caught in having literally borrowed from here. So the way I have decided is, I'll first show you a few pictures. And these pictures, there is a story behind them. And I will sort of tell you what those pictures are on. And if you look at it, I have put in a title called An Idea Called IIT. I am trying to tell you that IIT is not just an institute from where you will be passing out. As Professor Sinha said, that you can get out of IIT, but IIT won't get it. It almost looks like a snowdown thing that the big brother is going to look after you whether you have left IIT or not. So let us look at these pictures. Many of them will be instantly recognizable, but some of them will not. So of course, on the top left, is a graduate of this institute, a metallurgical engineer who is currently the Chief Minister of Goa, Manohar Parrikar. On the right is a kid from this campus. His father was a professor here. He was a student of Central School, a student of Mechanical Engineering Department. He is in the Union Cabinet today, pretends to be an economist, but on the bottom right, bottom left, I have a person who actually doesn't belong to this IIT, but while I was looking for people in various fields, at this moment I did not find any instantly recognizable face among the scientific community. So therefore, I have one of the youngest fellows of Royal Society, Professor Ashok Sen, whose pedigree is IIT Kanpur. Nandan Nilekani, in this election season, I don't have to sort of introduce you, and I am bound by election code of conduct, so I won't talk about him. Next. Okay. Now I come to a little less recognizable people, but they are not politicians, but they are very important people nevertheless. A great person from our alumni association. On the left top is Ajit Ranade, who is an economist, chief economic advisor to the Birlas. The right is a person who has sort of spent a lot of time in what I can call social work, but he's a champion of right to information. Okay, Shailesh Gandhi, he has fought many battles, okay, and sort of is still regarded as anytime you have any problem, you want anything connected with right to information, be it about IIT or be it about anything else, call on Shailesh and he will be there for you. The person who is on the extreme left there, you may not all recognize. Is there anybody who recognizes him? Yeah? Somebody was saying that name. Okay. Yes, he is. He is Jag Mundra, who was actually a film director. I mean, the reason for telling you this is to find out what various areas IIT people have sort of excelled in. He, of course, was best known for a film called Vagandar. Probably there was another couple, but he is sort of located in Los Angeles. Of course, I am sure that even if you don't recognize the other person, the Bollywood contribution of this person who has given IIT really a bad name by his Three Idiot is, I am sure, recognized by everybody. Chetan Bhagat, but in any case, a literary figure to have come out of. But this time again, not IIT Bombay, but IIT Delhi. You notice that wherever, okay, go ahead, next one. So the point is this, that look at another person. Of course, I don't have to, with the amount of clapping that came in, I don't have to sort of introduce who is he, but he's trying to make a difference. You may or may not agree with what he did when he became the Chief Minister of Delhi, but he's trying to make a difference. The next, let's see how many people recognize this person. So this person is somebody whom I have put in again, doesn't belong to IIT Bombay. Incidentally, Kejriwal belonged to IIT Kharagpur. He belonged to IIT Kanpur, and he gave, for those who do not know, he was actually assassinated because he decided or dared to stand against corruption. Now this is the, if you like, a spectrum of what IIT is all about. We have not just created engineers, scientists, management graduates, designers, or people who have excelled in arts, etc. But there is no area of this country or the world which our graduates have not touched on. And today, you are in a position to go out to the world and do your bit to be in this picture frame. You notice that I did not put in a lot of other names. I mean, primarily because my selection was to be focused towards IIT Bombay, so I decided to keep a lot more IIT. So the fact that Narayan Murthy's name doesn't appear is not an oversight, but because since Nandan Nilekani's name was there, I thought that's probably a good idea. Next. All right. So let us look at what was your dream when you came in. I can tell you what was the dream of a young person when, for example, I graduated. Incidentally, it is in the last century, literally. I graduated with my master's degree in 1966 when I dared to come to the city of Bombay. That's the first major city to which I had been in. Now, what was the dream of youth in those days? And so the youth's dream was, I probably have it in another slide. It says, I want preferably a government job. And I don't know why. Without government job, nobody would give your daughter in marriage to you, because that was the old days, the rule that you need a secured position. And this, of course, I'm talking about 50 years. Then, if you have come to Bombay, you wanted 2 BHK apartments. This is also very important. And so a secured job, a 2 BHK apartment, and a wife. So this is the aim of every young man who comes in there. I'm sorry, I know that, but the girls in those days were not that many in number. So even today, they don't seem to be that many in number. So I'm not saying that what their dreams were, but that is the typical. But look at it when you came in. When I passed out, the IITs were almost unknown entities. So I decided to go to an institute, which I still tell my friends who have graduated from IIT, the better institute than IIT, but that's a different story. Okay, as you heard in my introduction, I decided to come to Bombay to do a PhD from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bombay. Okay, so the thing is, today when you came in, you or probably more your parents, they sent you to IIT because they wanted you to have a good education. You were to be marketable and bankable. I'm using a Bollywood language, but you wanted to be bankable. And probably a good pay packet when you pass out. In the old days, after JEE, there used to be a counseling session where actually the parents and the students would come and talk to some faculty. What should you do? Which branch is better? And So once when I was advising some students, the parents came, and this I'm talking about sometime in 80s, they used a language I didn't understand at that time. Today I understand the meaning. They said, tell me, if he takes metallurgy instead of civil or aero, whatever, what is the package I can expect? I said, what is this person talking about? What is meant by a package? I understand if he had asked how much salary he will get. But anyway, those were the education. So good pay packet when you pass out. In short, you want to be successful. You want to be successful and hopefully lead a happy life. Success and happiness do not mean the same thing, but we'll sort of be at that. Your first thing was, in order to take a road to success, you took your first step not when you filled up the form for the JEE, but probably when you filled up your form. Incidentally, this part of the talk is primarily addressed for the BTech, MSc engineers who are passing out. The PhDs, how many PhDs are around here? Any? None? Okay. In that case, I don't feel that guilty. I would have come back to them, but that's all right. So, the basic point was, mostly when you first decided to enroll into a tutorial college, okay, I don't know which one it is, Bansal or whatever, PACE. Okay. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. So probably you took the first step the day you decided to enter one of the coaching classes, because that is probably the first door of entry. Having done that, the next hurdle was to appear in JEE, and the day you found your name in the list of successful people for JEE or JAM in case of MSc students, your parents probably distributed sweets in the locality. So that was number 2. The third big hurdles what you crossed was when you decided the basic problem is when we talk in the class, or we have a pocket mic, and so why don't you give it to me? Is it working? Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so the third big hurdle that you crossed is when you got. Oh yeah. When you found your name in the list of IIT Bombay, that's because this is the most desired place for all aspirants for IIT. As you know, close to 70% of the graduates, they want to come to IIT Bombay. So that was the third hurdle that you crossed. And today, at the end of 4 years, 2 years, or 5 years, depending on what courses you have done, you have achieved what your parents would say the life to success. You might not have become a Phungsuk Wangdu, but on the other hand, you have sort of achieved what in social language is called a success. Next. This I think I have already talked about. Okay, so the question is that when we are talking about it, let us look at what has made, how is life different for you than it was for me, to an extent, and to a lesser extent, but it was true for my colleagues who are on the front benches and even Professor Sinha here. When I was a student or I graduated, believe it or not, when I came to Bombay in 1974, in order, being from the eastern part of India, we are rice eaters. Rice was not available in the market. Okay, we had to go to Govandi because that is the limit of Bombay, and there were people who would be selling rice on the other side. So that is one. For a gas connection, I had to wait for 8 years. For a telephone connection, I had to wait for 10 years. I still remember that when I was dean student, much later, some parents of very rich people, families came to me and said that, you have a long queue at 11 o'clock in front of your telephone. There used to be a telephone booth with STD connection. And why after 11 o'clock? Because after 11 o'clock, the rates for telephone used to be 1/4. So therefore, people would queue up to call up their homes, and there was just one phone in those days. So the parents said that we will put our money, we would like to have a telephone in the room. So we talked about it. It was decided no elitism in this elite institute. So therefore, this is not permitted. You can't have a telephone. This, of course, became totally irrelevant with the invention and rampant mobiles, which people now have decided they can use it even in their examinations. So, 1947 or thereabout, after the war, if you look at all the countries which became independent during this period, you will find almost all of them went through a period of military dictatorship. Some of them still do. India, for whatever reason, a lot of people give credit to a lot of people, like for example, Nehru is given a credit, but anyway, let's not get into the political side of it. But India escaped it. India escaped it, but if you look at the first 2-3 plans, you find that it was almost a banana republic. I don't think anybody here would remember, but there used to be something called a PL 480 of US government. Okay? Most of them, all of them are. I was wondering if any of you would have known it. That I know, PL 480. In fact, even the books were subsidized by American government. We had a great advantage. We used to hobnob with the Russia by taking doles from US. No, not a problem. Economy was stagnating, manufacturing sector. In fact, manufacturing sector has been a constant problem of this country. They were, all industries shutting down, and there was actually a very bad situation all over the country. Next. Okay. Now what has happened? Something happened around 90s. I would like you to understand that around 90s, when Indian economy opened up, a firm credit should go to late P.V. Narasimha Rao for that. But when it opened up, China and India were at the same level of economy in terms of purchase parity, GDP growth and things like that. We will talk about what has happened after that. November 2010, this statement by Barack Obama that India is not an emerging country, India has emerged. So you can see that in a 50 years time, from what I termed as a banana republic to where we have come, there is such a big difference. Now, when you analyze what has caused this transformation, you will find that one of the names that will figure prominently will be that of IIT. And somewhere, I am not saying that the IIT Bombay will be prominent or any such thing, but the IIT system. It will be, it's certainly because the Indian IT industry, which in Silicon Valley was led by the IITians, they were the first to take off after liberalization of 1990s. And as of today, this singular emphasis on IT has become somewhat outdated, and that's why we need to think further. Next. So, this is an information which came, which you could have read in newspaper as of yesterday. The World Bank says India has overtaken Japan as the third largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. We have 6.4% of the world GDP today. Now look at China, which I said in 1990s was at par with India. That is second, but with a very big margin, and is catching up with the US, which is 17.1%. That's probably what happens when you have a Oxbridge professor as the leader and a Harvard businessman as the finance minister. Next. So let us look at some history. Some hard facts about IIT, which even though you have spent 4 to 5 years here, you might not have known. This is the plaque which is there in Kharagpur IIT, if you have noticed it. Where Kharagpur IIT is located, that was actually a jail, Hijli jail, and it says, here I stand at this place, and my mind inevitably goes back to that infamous institution for which this place became famous. Not now, but 20 or 30 years ago. The Hijli detention camp here is the place of that, well, there is stands the finest monument of India, IIT today, representing India's future in the making. So that's what the first IIT was in 1956, IIT Kharagpur. 2 years later, IIT Bombay. Next. All right, so what is IIT Bombay today? It is the first choice of the students who are entering the IIT portals. As I have told you, 70 of the top 100 students get into IIT Bombay. It's leading IIT in engineering research. Okay? Important members of government think tank. It is the most important IIT, leading IIT in industrial consultancy. You have 550 plus faculty, 8,500 students, of which 40% are UG, 60% of PG, which includes about 25% of PhD students. Next. So far, this institute has graduated 50,000 people in engineering, sciences, humanities, design and management. Next. So the question is, what is your goal now? I gave you a list of goals which it was there with your parents, with you, when you joined in. This 4 years you have been exposed to a totally different scheme of things. And that is the reason why I started this talk with a picture of a lot of people who have tried to make a difference in their own ways. Is that still your goal, that you want to join the rat race? And or you want to be counted among those who strive to make life a little easier for your fellow beings? And this is, I think, at this time, this is one of the things that you should seriously think about, that where do I want to go, quo vadis? Next. So let me talk little bit about, because you are now joining, most of you will be joining a career. a few students who are more, not risk averse, they will probably be trying something new right from now. But let's put it this way, that most of you would be joining a career. There would be, of course, some people who would decide to join an academic career. For them, the education is still not over. Actually, education is not over for anybody. But for those people who decide to do an academic career, they would probably be pursuing another PhD or things like that. So their career, in the sense I am talking about, will start a few years later. Now, responsibility of your career development lies squarely on your shoulders. And it is your responsibility to see that you have a growth of career. So let's look at what do I do. You know that one of the things that people think of when thinking of our alumni, for example, this building is, as you know, named after an alumnus, is that wealth generation. Generating wealth is not a dirty word. Go ahead, generate wealth. Because if you generate wealth, the nation also becomes richer. There is nothing wrong with it, excepting which is the way you make that wealth. You should have courage to tackle difficult problems and venture into uncharted territory. Back in, can you hear? Yeah. So back in '94 when I joined this institute, there was almost nothing which ever worked. I mean, this is a small example of that. So a senior colleague of mine, he told me, Dipan, listen, don't worry if you find things are not to your liking. You know, I mean, when you come back and join an institute from US, you feel that, well, nothing seems to be working here. Many of my young faculty here think the same way today. But then he said there is a reason. These are all intentional. Our technology here, it doesn't work because we want you to know what technology should not be. And that is the reason most of our technology doesn't work. Okay. So the point is this. This statement, have courage to tackle difficult problems and venture into uncharted territory. It is true for everybody, but especially true for people who have decided an academic life. And I would like to spend a couple of minutes on that. Who has heard of, how many of you have heard of Dan Sechtman? At least there is one, good. So, who was Dan Sechtman? Dan Sechtman is the person who got a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Why am I talking about a Nobel Prize in chemistry being a person of physics? Okay, the reason I am talking about it is, in 1982 or 83, Dan Sechtman found an interesting result in the laboratory. He had sort of grown some samples and he had taken an XRD of those. Now when he analyzed the XRD, he found that it seemed to show pentagonal symmetry. Now for those who don't understand it, let me quickly tell you that in crystals, you don't expect a pentagonal symmetry because it violates some group theoretic argument which says that you can't have a five-fold symmetry in nature. What it means is you cannot fill up a flat area with only pentagons without leaving any void, identical pentagons. And he wanted to publish it. Now, firstly, wherever he sent that paper, it was rejected. It says, what you are talking about is nonsense. Anyway, finally, not being able to get it published in any respectable journal of physics or chemistry, he tried his hand with metallurgy. In one of the metallurgical journals it was published, I believe mostly because those people did not worry about what is this symmetry, group theory, etc. But anyway, it was done. This paper, when it came out, no other than Pauling, Linus Pauling, I'm sure all of you have heard of his name. Linus Pauling incidentally got 2 Nobel Prizes. Okay, one in chemistry, one in peace. He said, and he called this Seckman called this thing a quasi-crystal, because a crystal cannot have five-fold symmetry. Linus Pauling said there are no quasi-crystals, there are only quasi-scientists. And if you know who Linus Pauling was, that more or less sealed the fate of Dan Seckman from the world of chemistry, from the world of everything. Because he never got a grant after that. His tenure had to be, went through a very difficult position. You do not know academic politics. I hope you don't come across, but academic politics is as bad as what is going on today. So, nobody dared until, incidentally, brief for physics people. It is the physicists who are probably not that much overawed by Linus Pauling who decided that there was some truth in what he is saying. And it didn't violate quite the pentagonal symmetry, but because there are some other types of things that you could talk about, it's not the time to go through it. But it got accepted something like, let's say, 20 years later. But Nobel Committee would not dare to insult Linus Pauling. So they had to wait until Pauling was no more. Okay? And in 2011, close to 30 years after this discovery, they honored him with a Nobel Prize, and to atone for the mistake that they did, what they did is after a very long time, he was given a single Nobel Prize. Nowadays you notice that the Nobel Prizes are rarely given single. So he was given, in the year of centenary of Madame Curie's getting a Nobel Prize, he was given this Nobel Prize. So learn from the life of Dan Seckman that never be afraid of going to uncharted territory. Next. When you join a company, many of you will find there will be a lot of mediocres. Don't be overwhelmed by them. Because mediocres also have a habit of selling themselves very well. They will sort of tell you that they understand it best. You don't know. You are a young fellow from IIT. What do you know of what is going on? And these are the people who would never take a risk. And so if you are overwhelmed by mediocres, you will never be anywhere. Continue to learn. But when you continue to learn, do not be afraid of questioning the wisdom of your teachers as well. Now here, since I have borrowed some ideas from Professor Phatak, I will give him credit. He has talked about Eklavya in a positive manner. I don't agree with him. He's my very good colleague and all that. I have said avoid Eklavya syndrome at all costs. If somebody asks you that give me your finger, you better question him. This doesn't stand to reason that somebody came and said that you give me your finger and you just cut it off immediately. Question those who are your teachers. And who are your teachers? It is no longer going to be these people who are seated here. But life will throw in more and more teachers. Different forms. Anybody from whom you can learn. But never be afraid of asking questions. And this is very important. Next. So as I said, that if you have an analytical mind, you will be an asset to any organization. This goes without saying. Next. Incidentally, I would also tell you another story. How much time do I have? No, but see no. That's not a good idea. So I will try to. They're still arriving. All right. Sorry? Okay, good enough. All right. So let me tell you a story which one of my teachers, he said it when I was in school. You know, there was in school, I don't know whether in your time it was there or not, we used to have questions like there are stories, and it says at the end of it, what is the moral of this story? Right? So my teacher said that, look, there is no, stories don't have moral, stories are stories. Now this is sort of a very unusual professor, probably came from an IIT to teach us, but that's possible. He said, why moral stories don't have morals? He said, you have all heard of that, there was this question of somebody shouting that wolves have come, right? I mean, this is famous Aesop's fable. That he shouted, and ultimately and he was a liar. So nobody really, people would come and then find ha ha ha, and he go away. One day, when actually he was attacked and he shouted, people all thought he's lying. Okay, and they would, he was killed, and then the question is, what is the moral of the story? So my teacher, we said that moral of the story is that you should not lie. He said, okay, let's look at it the following way. Supposing instead of this story, because in Aesop's fable the animals also talked. So supposing in the Aesop's fable, one of the foxes started shouting to his colleagues that here is a prey. Okay, they would come running, not find a prey, and go. Ultimately, after it has happened for 4 or 5 times, this fellow one day finds actually a prey. Okay, shouts that here is a prey. Nobody comes. That he has entire prey to himself. Now, what is the moral of this story? Having talked about physics and chemistry, let me talk a little bit about biology. You should believe in genetics only for the purpose of scientific inquiry. And I will tell you why I am making that statement. I don't know how many of you have heard of this phrase called eugenics. This eugenics is a phrase which is actually a dirty word, if you like, which was sort of what Hitler believed, that people's caliber is based on the type of genes that you have. Incidentally, it is not only the Nazis who had embraced this science of eugenics, science or whatever is of eugenics, but even those who would be called liberal today. In fact, on record, George Bernard Shaw had also, subscribed to eugenics. The thing is, don't believe that because you have certain genes, my children steadfastly refuse to do any physics. I don't know about many others, but I know Professor Yajnik's child also didn't do physics. So there is nothing like a physics gene. In fact, both my daughters, they came to hate physics, but that's a different story. Now, the question is this, that you can be what you want. So don't go by that I came from this background, this is my genes, so I can't do it. In other words, you should not be diffident. Next. There are a few others, because I am also told to give you some sort of advice. Trust. The point is this. When you pass out and you are from IIT, very soon all these shorts and t-shirts will be replaced by jackets and ties. Okay? So, but you should speak to people in a language which will be understood. I don't mean your language will be understood. I meant what you talk about should be intelligible to a fair-minded person. You should be able to explain what you mean by that. You should be always willing to help others. Have a faith in yourself. More importantly, be ethical. Remember, you may not ever be a Satyendra Dibay, but you can practice ethical practice. This is very important. Okay? I mean, you must have noticed that we have a lot of regards for this person who is no more, but I think he taught us something. That ethics is what human beings are for. The next one is very important. You have all learned, I will not name people, but big people who have been, hauled up because of this. Have healthy respect for your colleagues who are women. I'm not saying that the women here should not have respect for men, but this is very important. This is very important, particularly for males here, that you must respect women in workplaces and of course elsewhere. But elsewhere, if you don't respect, you will be beaten up. Okay? But respecting them in workplaces is absolutely a requirement for anybody who wants to be a professional. The final thing is, think out of the box. Okay? I've said close the loop. What is meant by close the loop? Close the loop means if you have got a job, you try to see that you have completed the job in such a way that you are no longer required in that job. You would say, what is this nonsense that you are talking about? I'm actually mean that. The thing is, if you have done a job completely and you have brought in a closer to that job, the company or the organization where you work for, they have no alternative but to either promote you or you will find a better place to go. In other words, you have left the place, but you have gone to a greener pasture. Next. All right. So I am coming towards the end of my talk. I said, you must have confidence. Have confidence by all means, but avoid overconfidence. I've said identify a mentor. I've already told you that in your career, you'll find a lot of people who will be your mentors. Mentors are not just people whom you use for getting a promotion in life. Mentors are those whose ideals you have come to like, you would like to inculcate. Try to see what are their good points. Okay? Finally, shed the arrogance of having cracked the JEE. This is very important because in the old days when I used to come to the first class, I used to take PH 103 electromagnetism, which was in the first semester for a very long time. Okay? So what we did always is that the first quiz will make it so tough intentionally. Okay? Even the best of the students will find it extremely hard too. Then people would say, what is this? I said, no, this is to sort of bring you down to the ground state. You know, I mean, the cream of the nation, the dream of the nation, which you and your parents propagated after you qualified in JEE, that better be. Next. Okay, now comes why they have invited me. Professor Ravishanna, as you know, is the Dean of Alumni and Corporate Relations. Till now I was responding to the invitation given to me by the Dean of Student Affairs. But now I must come to the job entrusted to me by the Dean of Alumni and Corporate Relations. I talked a lot about corporate. He has already said it, that you have a lifelong relationship with this institute. You become the brand ambassador of the concept that is IIT. I said, IIT is an idea. IIT is not just an institute from where you are passing out. And not only that, people have asked me, why so many IITs? Nobody asks the question, why are there 10 universities of California? When you are being funded by the state, should state just provide that facility to 8,000 students? I don't see anything wrong with it. But when you talk about University of California, you don't talk about all the campuses the same way as you would for example, for Berkeley or UCLA. So my suggestion to you is, there are 16, and if somebody becomes Prime Minister, he is promising another 16. Okay? We don't care. I am interested in brand IIT Bombay. And that is what you should be proud of. So let's not, we are of course proud of brand IIT, but we are proud of IIT Bombay as a brand. Next. Okay. I will, this part, I must honestly say I'm borrowing from Professor Phatak. But, so don't blame me. I will come back to what. So once Professor Phatak gave this formula that you should pay, after you have started earning, 1% of your taxable income. It seemed to be a reasonable amount because 1% is not a big thing, until he met a person, his name is Adani, not related to the Adani who has become very famous now. Adani in US. He said, Deepak is the name of Deepak Phatak. says, Deepak, I will give you 1% of my taxable income because no self-respecting Sindhi ever pays any income tax. So, he says, don't do such stupid thing. Call it 1% of your gross income. Okay? So, our request to you is, when you can, and I am hoping sincerely, you will be in a position to do that as soon as possible. Probably they have already worked out a pledge form or some such thing. Is that correct, Ravi? Yes. All right. Now, I have been a dean student, so I know about these things also. All right. So, the point is this, that you would say, why should I pay? The reason is this. You do not know how much your education has been subsidized. Go to any third-rate engineering college and find out how much fees you pay there. Okay? You have had the best of education that this country, and for that matter, almost any country can afford to give its citizens. We might not have given you a Harvard, MIT, or an Oxford, but we have given you certainly things that come next to it. Why? What would we do with the alumni money? My next few slides talk about this, what alumni have done for us here. Next. So you see this, is that Desai Seti Foundation? Yeah. So this is of course all familiar to you, built with alumni donation. Next. What is happening? All right. Okay. So there was, okay, fine. Next. All right. You all know this. You will know it actually better than me. Yeah. This is Victor Meneges. Victor Meneges, as you know, was an alumnus of this institute who, of course, became chief of City Corp and all that. Next. Yeah. Just, I think this is, people have seen it. I just want to tell them that this is what our alumni have been doing. This is, I think, Ramesh Wadani Electronics Lab. Right? Yeah. Next one. Same part of it. This, I think, Bioschool. The new Bioschool building, also by Wadhwani's donations. Okay. This is, buildings and concretes are not the only thing which the alumni have done for us. The alumni have been helping students here also. Okay. They have of course helped in enhancing infrastructure facility, and which I have given you a few. There are things called student alumni mentorship, hostel alumni team stewardship, hostel improvement endowment, student wellness program. Next. I just next. These are, all right. So there are so many things that people, the alumni funds go to help people who are less privileged from here, to supplement the money that we get from Government of India. But we are not in a position to, with that money, give you the type of facility that we would like you to get. Next. They have also helped the faculty. They realize that a lot of young faculty, if they are given an early attraction, so they give something called a young faculty signing bonus. And for people who have retired, they did not have any medical facility after they retired, so they have also founded what is called a wellness project. Next. So with this, I end this so-called advice to you that what I have said, IIT had a tryst with excellence. This is actually paraphrasing Nehru's word that we had a tryst with destiny. But I hope that you will all realize that you will continue to have your association with this institute And someday, we will be as proud of you as you have always been of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dipan sir, for such an inspiring speech. I now call upon the student representatives who would like to speak with you. And from the UG sector, I have Purna Chandra, and he'll be addressing you. So, Purna Chandra.
It is not every day that you get a chance to address a bunch of prospective CEOs of some of the top companies trying to make a change in this world. Future scientists to work on cutting edge research, administrators probably, running the whole scheme of things. Engineers leading some of the best technical teams across the globe. A very good evening to one and all present here. Roughly about 4 to 5 years back, we all shared a dream of making it to IIT Bombay. Either out of self-will or because of the air around it, we all dreamt of being here one day. Some of us gave up homestay in pursuit of coaching. Some of us gave up adequate hours of sleep. Some of us socializing perhaps. And slightly more importantly, some of us gave up alternate career paths. But we didn't mind, for we had dreamt the dream of being a part of this institution, to be amidst the best of the country, to know for ourselves how it felt like to be here, to be a part of a legacy in some way, to feel a sense of pride, the dream of grooming ourselves along our way to create a positive change in this world, a dream that actually didn't let us sleep on occasions. Well, we all did realize the dream, and sadly the dream is soon coming to an end. But what a ride it was, wasn't it? What's with the wing conversations ranging from Fourier to Freud to Floyd? What's with the lakeside strolls to night outs at GG to early morning trips to Maddu? What's with the passion for the hostel beat, cult, sports, tech, or sometimes just for the heck? What's with the attitude, ab to machana hai boss, crack marna hai? What's with the lingo that has slowly become a permanent part of our dictionaries? What's with that feeling of togetherness of being a part of various student teams? But above all, what's with that sense of liberty? That sense of freedom to know that we have all the tools to achieve what we want over here. Achieve anything literally, from grades to leadership to photography to car racing, whatnot. However, along with this sense of liberty arises the responsibility of making choices. As a great teacher once said in a popular book series, it is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Each one of us have made numerous choices since coming here. A few of them would have worked out, a few of them not really, and the rest disastrous perhaps. But the beauty of this place is it lets us pick up. There was always this feeling that even if we screw up something somewhere, the scheme of things will actually put us back on track. By scheme of things, I mean it could be a senior come mentor in the wing, a close faculty perhaps, the rules in place on occasions. It could be competition sometimes, or our own rationale hitting us if nothing else did in the end. To not have this fear of committing mistakes is probably one of the better aspects of nurturing, in my opinion. And as a soon-to-be alumnus, I feel as an institute, as long as our system nurtures minds rather than shaping them, we are doing all right. As long as we are not generating mere products shaped according to the market needs and are churning individuals who are taught how to make choices, we are doing all right. As long as each one of us is confident and proud of our individuality, leaving this place, we are doing all right. As long as this place wakes up every morning to Tagore's heaven of freedom where the mind is without fear, we are doing all right. So for the sense of liberty and the nurturing by letting us learn to make choices, IIT Bombay has made an impact on me like no one else has in my life. Well, moving on, they say, is never easy. I for sure don't know how I'm going to cope up with it. The place, the people, it was very easy to get used to, and we all did. Moving on will probably happen only physically. But where do we go from here? We prospective CEOs, scientists, administrators, engineers. But is that how we would like to be known 20, 30 years down the line? Is success what we are after? Is that the dream destination where we want to get to? Or is there a dream destination at all? Because if there is one, it better be damn good, as we have still so much to live. I mean, according to India's life expectancy, we are only 1/3 there. It's indeed a long way to go. So it does seem the journey matters. What path we take, why we take it, how we go about it, and where it is likely to take us. All 4 questions matter to us. And it is in this enjoyment of the journey that most successful stories have emerged from. The success stories that got you and me to dream of coming here, the dream of entering that elite list of alumni. It is perhaps the journey we undertake that will decide the dreams of the future bright minds of this country to come here to IIT Bombay and further going on to become, success stories themselves. It is a bit scary though. Moving out of the sense of liberty and the right to make our choices is an uncomfortable feeling. Market needs, personal demands, job expectations are going to mask these 2 aspects in a way in the future. But as long as we are confident of our next dream that we are going to pursue, it shouldn't matter as much. The dream that we wouldn't mind losing sleep for. But often, what we see around us are people who aren't quite sure of what they're after. People who get used to life after a while. People who are okay being mediocre. People who don't mind immersing themselves in the mob. People who slog at an age when they can have fun, save up cash when they can spend, eat when they aren't hungry, drink when it's not the occasion, work abroad to wire in money for their parents whom they don't spend time with. People who end up finding ways to cage their liberty and their right to make the right choices. However, I believe with the logical, emotional, and the intuitional rationale that this place has taught us, we need to let our individuality dictate our dreams. We need to realize that we need to realize what we are really cut out for, and not merely what the system is forcing us to be. Something that will let us enjoy our lives while we aim towards excellence. So while we are at it, fighting and figuring out things, a tool that can let us come out of this fear of making choices is our network. The network of IIT Bombay that can probably get us anywhere from Silicon Valley to Bollywood. It is a free lifetime opportunity that we have availed as a side bonus, I'd say. So I say use it wisely. People are one of the reasons why we are here today, be it faculty, seniors, peers, or even juniors whom we get to mentor sometimes. People are the best source of learning, in my opinion. Someone lends us a hand when in need, and we lend a hand when someone else needs it. The brand has substance, the dream has value. I wish and hope everyone respects that in the years to come. I would like to leave you all with the lines of a Kannada poet, Kuvempu, the translation of which goes as follows. O my spirit, unchain yourself, grow beyond the myriad forms, go beyond the countless names. Fill your heart with inspiration till it bursts. We know the shaft of 100 creeds. Stretch beyond the stifling philosophies, rise immense and endless as the cosmos. Rest nowhere on the unending road, build never a binding nest. Remain infinite and boundless. The quest you have undertaken doesn't have an end. You are that infinity, keep going. Ascend, ascend, ascend. O my spirit, unchain yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Purna, for such a short but heartfelt address. Now, from the PGs, we have Sandeep Tripathi to speak with you.
Hello. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Respected faculty members, alumnus, if there are any over here, and the passing out Janta. Thanks to Vishwas and the SARC team for giving me this opportunity to come stand and speak in front of you. So yesterday I went on in my wing and spoke to a few people who were passing out, and I asked them, what would you miss the most at IIT? So I got some answers like no more फोकट का इंटरनेट, मड्डू में अंडा डोसा, late night canteens, late night bucker, and someone told that while he was traveling in a train, he means just initiated a conversation with a co-passenger, and he used IIT lingo, which none of means half of the words he couldn't understand. So it would be difficult to learn the language outside. So it would be difficult as well to learn the life outside as well. So I'll start with a beautifully written article by Marina Keegan, then a final year student of the Yale University. We don't have a word for the opposite of loneliness, but if we did, I could say that that's what I want in life. What I'm grateful and thankful to have found at Yale, and what I'm scared of losing when we wake up tomorrow and leave this place. It's not quite love, and it's not quite community. It's just this feeling that there are people, an abundance of people who are in this together, who are on your team when the check is paid and when you stay at the table, when it's 4 a.m. and no one goes to bed. That night with the guitar, that night we can't remember. That time we did, we went, we saw, we laughed. So for us, it's very difficult to get the opposite of loneliness once we go out of IIT. In Rang De Basanti, there is a very beautifully said line, कॉलेज की गेट के इस पार जिंदगी को हम नचाते हैं, गेट के उस पार जिंदगी हमें नचाती है. So in the PG perspective, things that PG means, yesterday I had a conversation with Dean ACR Professor Sinha. He told me to speak the good as well as the bad things about IIT. So certain things which PGs dislike is greater preference of UGs in placements. Obviously, they deserve it because they have cracked JE. And the again, the for PG students, I mean the MTech students, the merit of PhD students is given greater appreciation and respect for the work here. So the MTechs are hanging in between the UG students and the PhD students, which is very difficult for anyone to hang over there. So certain qualities that the IIT students possess, which would help them go and strive outside, the drive, the ambition, the competitiveness. Here people take PO not just for the sake of completing a work perfectly, it's because of the team they work with. So as sir said, पहले हम IIT में थे, आज IIT हम में है. So I'll tell a small story how the tag of IIT changes life of people. One of my friends is from Bihar, my branch mates is from a remote place in Bihar. So he told that the day he got admission into the PG program at IIT Bombay, his father said, अच्छा हुआ बेटा, अब तेरा दहेज 10 लाख बढ़ गया, अब सरकारी नौकरी भी लगा दे और 10 लाख बढ़ जाएगा. So again, there are people, means the other side of it. I was traveling in a train. He said, where do you study? What do you study? I said, I study engineering. Where? At IIT Bombay. अच्छा, Bombay इतना दूर पढ़ते हो, पास में ITI में नहीं मिला आपको? So the two perspectives of being an IIT student and the other see, again, coming to placements, people sign the JAFs based, means the JAFs they open in sometime in October, September. So I've seen people who sign JAFs based on the package. They don't read out what's written in the JAF. They only say package, अच्छा 13 लाख, हाँ sign करते हैं. 5.5 कौन sign करता है? And once the placement season creeps in, and then अभी तक placement नहीं हुआ, day 10 हो गया, 5 लाख कर दे sign कर दे. So now getting on after IITB, as Professor Sinha yesterday told a very nice line, that once you go out of IIT Bombay, you're part of the rat race. But the worst thing about being part of a rat race is that you're no longer a human, you are a rat. So means I would advise everyone, including me, not to be a rat outside Bombay. Be the IITian, keep the IITian inside you, and be a human. So one last thank you. A lot of us might have felt this way even when we left school and made our way into school into school. At least I did. But we made new friends, and most of us now consider college days to be the best days in our life. So it's not we'd stop missing college, we'd enter new relationships, we may marry, obviously we will marry, so we'll surely move on. Humans are fairly resilient that way, but every once in a while, I crave the easy comfort of the opposite of loneliness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. I think it's always good to hear from people who have been in our shoes. So, following this, we have a small award ceremony for the uh, for the for the people who've done very well in SARC. So, I request Professor Urijit Yagnik to do the honors and give the certificates to the SARC members.
So, since I see a lot of people are moving out, wait, listen to me. If you have to move out, move to the back, which is where the refreshments are.
So the first awardee for tonight is Saubhagya Singh Rathore. I know we've all heard a lot about him. ISMP mentor winner. The second awardee for today is Ajay Bhatt, one of the strongest pillars of the SARC teams. Next we have Mohit Gupta. He was one of the best members of the operations team of SARC. Next we have Anup Raj. I hope he's here. Then Shantanu Mondal. Pradeep Biradar. Thank you so much. We have refreshments for you, and we also have t-shirts for you after you sign the pledge to give 1% of your salary, the Guru Dakshina. So please go outside and enjoy the arrangements for you.